The Claiming of Grimmauld Place by bixgirl1. Chapter 6. All the Perfect Combinations, Part 3. Harry jerked around. Draco stood at the edge of the room, unpinning his cloak at the throat, his glasses highlighting the sharp contours of his face. He looked disheveled and wry and tired and fucking there, and Harry crossed the room in 4 long strides to get to him. He smelled of fresh air, of the soft, muted scent of ink and potion smoke, and he tasted like mint when Harry kissed him, pushing Draco bodily into the wall of the foyer. Draco's hands coming up to grip Harry's ribs.
"Where,"
Harry demanded with a low growl when he pulled away,
"have you been?"
Draco opened his mouth to answer, but Harry kissed him again instead, wrestling his cloak the rest of the way off and popping his buttons out of their buttonholes, tugging Draco's shirt from his trousers. Draco gave himself up to it for a minute, allowing the onslaught of Harry's kiss, his wandering hands before wrenching his head back with a thunk against the wall.
"You complete tosser,"
he said, then buried his fingers in Harry's hair and yanked him into another kiss.
"You fucking left."
It choked out after a moment, mouthing his way down Draco's throat with a hard, biting kiss. Draco groaned. He wedged a thigh between Harry's legs, and Harry groaned too, flooded with turbulent emotion. Wrath and relief, lust and love and sorrow. He couldn't stop touching Draco, could no longer shove away his need to own him and be owned by him the way he'd wanted for so long. And that Draco was kissing him back, touching him back. Harry could touch him. Draco was there. Made everything rise in Harry at once, powerful and overwhelming, blurring all of his senses.
"I went to Russia,"
he said in a low gasp when Harry reached the spot above the collarbone that made him keen. Harry nipped it, then sucked it hard between his teeth. Draco's leg began to move, and Harry started riding it, undulating his hips to give friction to where Draco's erection was pressing persistently against his pelvic bone.
"God damn you,"
Harry said. He ripped his glasses off, then Draco's for good measure, tossing them onto the small table where his undeliverable letter sat before, kissing him again.
"Why didn't you fucking tell me? I would have gone with you."
Draco panted, arching into him.
"Stop fucking trying to save me,"
he said, hands sliding under Harry's t-shirt to scrape blonde fingernails down his back. Harry shuddered at the jolt of pleasure-pain, at the almost violent squirm of Draco's body against his, and he wanted to pull back, wanted to unfasten their flies, wanted to take Draco apart, but couldn't stop thrusting against Draco's lean muscled thigh.
"No,"
Harry managed breathlessly. The sheer honesty of the word burned, and it felt so much like the release his body was working towards. He expanded on it.
"No, I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to stop saving you. Stop trying to make me. Need me, goddammit. I fucking hate you."
Draco said with a low hiss, teeth grazing Harry's jaw. Toes moved frantically, rubbing against Harry's hip through their clothes. His exposed stomach tensed and rippled.
"Hate me when I visit you in Russia,"
Harry said into Draco's mouth, shivering when Draco set his tongue in. Then viciously sucked on Harry's lower lip before cupping Harry's arse cheeks through his jeans and juddering into him. And oh God, Draco felt so good. The claw and fight of him, the savage way he gripped Harry's hair and buttocks, familiar and new all at once.
"I'll hate you when we're both living in Scotland,"
Draco said, ragged and resentful, voice cutting, and Harry came on a rush, pleasure unspooling hotly in his groin, his body curling inwards, trapping Draco against the wall. His cock jerked again and again, dampening the insides of his pants with sticky release.
"You fucking bastard,"
Harry said on a hard groan, hips still working, fingers bruisingly tight against Draco's hips. Draco's body stiffened and plastered itself further against Harry as he grunted low and fast.
"I'm coming. Fuck, Harry."
Even as Harry felt a throb of Draco's cock through the layers of denim and wool, Harry kissed him through it. then pressed a hot cheek against Draco's sweaty neck, and Draco went legs against the wall. They stood against each other for a minute, then Draco nudged him away. He had a scowl on his face.
"I'm the bastard? You left?" Harry said, feeling his own face twist with remembered fury. "I went to Russia." "I know, you said."
Harry shot back, pushing off the wall behind Draco. He yanked his wand out and cast a cleaning spell over each of them, wincing at the force of it. He felt like he'd accidentally taken off a layer of skin, and judging by the way Draco's glower deepened, it wasn't a most pleasant experience for him either. But Harry couldn't bring himself to care.
"What you didn't say was I'm going to leave for Russia before you packed up your room and left. Do you know how worried everyone's been?" "What do you mean, I didn't say?"
Harry stared at him, dumbfounded.
You didn't tell anyone." "I told Creature."
Blinking rapidly, Harry shook his head to dislodge the words. He turned and barked out Creature's name, glaring at Creature when he appeared. Creature's eyes widened upon seeing Draco. He bowed low, his long drooping nose nearly scraping the floor.
"Master Draco has returned,"
he said.
"Yes?"
Draco said, confusion plain.
"Why didn't you tell Harry where I was going?"
Creature's gaze started to Harry from his obsequious position.
"Creature is not needing to obey Master Draco,"
he hedged.
"Creature?"
Harry fisted his hands to restrain himself from throttling his own house elf.
"Master Harry is needing a push,"
Creature babbled out of nowhere, rheumy eyes filling with tears. He sniffed wetly, his hands twisting his ears around them.
"Master Harry is needing to share his pain with the house so it would respond. Then he is needing to make the house his home by communing with it. Creature is taking care of Master as his house elf's duty and want."
"Oh, damn it!"
Harry roared. He raked a hand through his hair, staring down the Creature furiously. Without looking away, he asked Draco.
"I can't kill him, can I?" "Well, you could, but he doesn't have a wand for you to disarm, so any rebounding curse would be decidedly unimpressive,"
Draco said with a small sword. Harry whipped his hand around to glare at Draco again. Draco gave him a tiny smug smile, and Harry turned back to Creature.
"Go tell Ginny that he's here. She'd get it to everyone else,"
he said through clenched teeth.
"Tell her we don't want to be bothered."
Creature bowed even lower and disapparated.
"I assure you, you bother me plenty,"
Draco said.
"You,"
Harry said, whirling on him. He snapped a hand around Draco's bony wrist and dragged him towards the stairs.
"Shut up!" "What did I do?"
Draco asked.
"I told Creature. You didn't tell me,"
Harry said, agitated, as they reached the landing of the second floor. The tug in his fingers bloomed hot, but he ignored it, choosing instead to hustle Draco into his room.
"You took your sheets, the bloody picture of your parents," he said.
Draco furrowed his eyebrows.
"My sheets needed cleaning, and I take that photo everywhere. 2 trunks,"
Harry demanded, stripping off his t-shirt and undoing his flies. Draco's eyes widened as he stripped off his shirt, discarding it hurriedly, then reaching for the fastening of his own trousers as he shed off his shoes.
"I didn't know how long I would be gone or what resources I would need,"
Draco said, his breath starting to come light and fast as Harry shoved his jeans and pants down, then kicked them to the side. He zipped his own clothes off. It was halfway to hard again already, and Harry licked his lips, one hand staying to his rapidly swelling erection.
"So soon?"
Draco murmured, eyes on Harry's cock.
"I thought I'd lost you,"
Harry said, then pushed him onto the bed, taking Draco's mouth in a hard, possessive kiss. Later they lay together, wheezing in time with each other. Harry's whole body hard from the bite marks Draco had decided to imprint upon his flank, to his overstimulated prick, to the oozing scratches on his hips and thighs, where Draco had reached back and clutched at him again, as Harry had rotted into him mindlessly, muttering, "Mine, damn you," until Draco came with a very loud and angry sob. Draco looked no less worse for wear. with stubble burn and purpling love bites over his throat, between his thighs, and a splendidly red handprint over the starkly pale curve of one arse cheek. He looked utterly wrung out, completely debauched, and Harry felt his cock unbelievably twitch against his thigh.
"Scotland?"
Harry said at length, once his heartbeat had slowed enough to allow for real speech. Draco rolled over, lifting his head and blinking heavily. His lips were swollen.
"I take it you haven't spoken to the headmistress in the last few days? I've been busy looking for you,"
Harry said, rising onto one elbow with a grunt.
"I went to her that morning and submitted my CV," Draco said, his upper lip curled up. "My employment is pending, a thorough interview and review of my history, as well as examples of my potions ability in the form of moderated retaking of my practical potions notes. Then I went to Russia to get back the gold I've already paid into that."
He broke off, jaw tight.
"And did you get it back?" "He said he would retrieve it for me, then disapparated, but I tracked him down."
Draco sat with a small sniff.
"Why?"
Harry asked slowly, the question finally tearing from his throat. It encompassed all of the why he'd wondered at over the last few months, all of the moments of desperate need and uncertainty, and he thought for a moment by the snide curl of Draco's lips that he'd discount the question or refuse to answer it at all. He shoved a pillow under his head and rested his cheek up on it, inhaling deeply, face going distant and thoughtful. Harry coasted a hand down the long expanse of Draco's back, index and middle finger, resting for a moment in the dimples at the small of it, before moving lower to slip between his relaxed buttocks. Draco clenched them lightly in response. He was slick there from lube and spunk, and his hole was puffy and soft against the pad of Harry's fingertips. He pressed 2 fingers just inside, and Draco sucked in a choppy breath.
I couldn't let you get too close if I was leaving,"
Draco stuttered out, shifting a little. His legs fell open slightly.
"And then you got too close anyhow, because you're you, Potter, and you're not you if you're not obliterating all sense of decency and boundaries. And...
He blinked, pale eyelashes fluttering as he struggled to compose himself.
"Could you not?" "It would be difficult,"
Harry said, pushing his fingers a touch deeper down to the first knuckle. He twisted him, and Draco made a small sound of combined pique and impatience.
"I didn't talk to Blaze for a year when he offered to give me gold," Draco said.
The flush that was beginning to die on his cheeks bloomed fresh.
"I know, Greg told me."
Harry paused, moving his finger gently through the slick of his own coat, fascinated by the way Draco's inner muscles fluttered around him.
"You should have." "Why wasn't it enough that I told you I didn't want your help?"
Draco asked, peevish. He lifted his hips fractionally before dropping them.
"Because I'm me,"
Harry said with a sigh. Draco rolled his eyes.
"Then why go to McGonagall?" "Because you hadn't asked, and I'm not...
Draco licked his lips.
"I'm smart enough to utilize opportunities that come my way. So that's how I help you."
Harry asked, sinking his fingers deeper, searchingly. Draco scowled at him disapprovingly, even as his hips started to jerk lightly.
"I just don't ask if it's okay. I thought that's why it got so angry." "That's not all right, Harry,"
Draco said. His knuckles clutched the pillow beneath his head, turning yellow-white as he fought to maintain some semblance of control.
"I'm angry because you discounted me. You behaved, oh God, as though you'd be willing to. "I was," Harry said.
His cock had barely roused, thickening only slightly, but Draco rotted against the mattress as though he was fully hard again.
"I mean that. I wrote you letters. I didn't get any owls. Your owl box."
Harry murmured, leaning forward to kiss Draco's flexing shoulders as he continued to finger him steadily.
"I closed a month ago, and oh, fuck, do it. Keep talking,"
Harry said insistently. He pulled his fingers out to the tips and pressed a third alongside them.
"Tell me you're in love with me." "I hate you."
Draco groaned as Harry located his prostate.
"I hate you as much as I love you."
He shuddered, scooting closer. bent his head to kiss Draco's mouth, already open and gasping out shivery breath.
Finally, you prick. I wasn't going to take anything from you,
Draco said.
I still won't.
He cried out, frustrated when Harry's hand still.
Not like that. I need to do it on my own, no more.
Rescuing? Harry asked.
Damn it. If you gave the house and satisfied my own, once I knew you were, I had thought about.
Draco's toes curled, his thighs tense and quaking, his words on the cusp of nonsense.
I wanted you when we were teenagers.
Pleased, Harry rewarded him for the confession. Draco's back dipped, his spine flexing inward, his eyes falling shut. He gave a hedonistic moan, hips jerking frantically.
Are you going to come again?
Harry asked, mouth close to Draco's ear.
Bastard!
Draco got out. He rose up. He continued to move up and down as though there hadn't been a pause, voice grainy.
When I moved in, I didn't know your preference might align with mine. And then when we started, I was leaving. I'd planned to. You were only in it for a spot of fun anyhow. Very practical of you, and wrong. Never once gave you the idea and you know it. Fuck you, you didn't tell me otherwise until you said that you were. Mad about you, I remember. Impractical of me.
Harry said, swallowing a strangled swell of giddiness.
And things changed,
Draco said, yawning.
That still doesn't give you the right to make decisions on my behalf.
I didn't, Harry said in an apology.
I just thought out another option for you. And if it was anyone but the current headmistress, I might not have followed up on it.
At Harry's look, Draco smiled wryly.
I've never known her to be someone particularly intimidated by or in awe of you. Something you have in common.
Draco hesitated.
I don't want people to know about us yet,
he said. Harry's skull tightened, but he took a deep breath and kept his voice mild.
Why not? They'll attribute me working there to you, to us, Draco said sourly. But no buts, Harry.
Fine. Harry sighed and Draco shifted, grimacing. Harry grappled around for his wand, finally finding it near the foot of the bed and cast a gentle scourgify over them. He was starting to get itchy anyhow. He cleared his throat, then settled on his back, staring up at his bed hangings.
I want something too. Am I supposed to guess? Draco asked snidely after a moment. Stop pushing me away, Harry said. I don't know, help you in ways I can. It's who I am, and you know it. It would be simpler if you could curb the impulse,
Draco pointed out with a yawn.
Apparently I can't, Harry said, irritated. And I don't want to either, and I shouldn't have to.
Draco hesitated for a long moment. His hand came up to rest on Harry's groin, fingers threading through the curling black pubic hair. He gave it a thoughtful tug.
No favours that I don't want. I'm supposed to know what those are. You will if you ask me.
Harry rolled his eyes.
Fine. Then I really can't buy back the manor, I suppose.
Snickering, Draco shook his head, pulling sharper on the hair in his grasp. Harry's grin turned into a wince, took Draco's hand and placed it elsewhere. Draco resumed touching him.
No, but I might include you in my own plans to get it back. I'll take it,
Harry said instantly.
I just wish we'd gone further with Grimmauld Place,
Draco said with another loud yawn.
We're to leave for Scotland in a month.
Oh. Sheepish, Harry rubbed his fingers together with his thumb. He could feel the sting in them, the pull.
We, did actually. The key appeared. Creature, whatever he did, worked, I guess.
Draco's eyes popped open, all remnants of exhaustion fleeing his face.
And you claimed it? Not...
Harry cleared his throat. He met Draco's gaze.
I didn't want to, without you here.
Exacerbated, Draco levered himself up, hopping off the bed in one graceful movement. Harry blinked, startled when Draco grabbed his wand from where it had fallen to the floor and brandished it at Harry, notching Harry's chin higher with the tip of it.
All that time spent, all of our work, and you haven't? Our work,
Harry said pointedly. Draco faltered, and Harry lowered his voice, his face growing warm.
I didn't want to without you here,
he said again. Draco stared at him. His face remained expressionless, but his eyes softened, warmed.
"Come on, then,"
he said.
"I'd like to see."
Harry got up, summoning his pants from where they were wedged under his bedside stand and slipping them on as Draco put on his own. They trudged into the hall, and Harry felt it again, that same fierce pull of longing from Grimmauld Place to belong to someone again, fully and finally, after so long. Only as he stared at the door, it seemed as though the house knew it was time. The throb of his fingers became hot and steady. And Harry wondered if when he touched the key, whether his fingertips might brand the gleaming metal.
"Can you come with me?"
he whispered to Draco. From his periphery, he saw Draco shake his head.
"No. I feel like you should. You deserve to after. One day,"
Draco said quietly,
"I'll get the manor back, and you'll be there. You'll watch as I walk through the door, just like I'm going to watch right now as you do."
Harry swallowed and stepped forward. The bow of the key between his fingers and thumb flared bright and hot as he touched it. It twisted before Harry had moved his fingers, the creak of the door as it unlatched and opened inward, loud and beseeching. The inside of the room looked hollow, a dark and bottomless pit of velvety black, a sharp contrast to the warmth Harry felt issuing from it, like gusts of summer wind. Harry glanced back at Draco. He nodded, the high arch of his brow knitted, eyes narrow and sharp. Harry turned back and took a deep breath. He stepped in.
"Oh," he said, then, "Oh!"
Again long and loud as the magic swept over him in shallow waves. Pulsing out from his hand to extend through his midsection and the rest of his limbs, Harry felt a light from it, from that sense of right and home, the way he did in Molly's kitchen, the way he did always at Hogwarts on Christmas morning. The way he had when Draco had shown up hours earlier, kissing him back with furious promise. The room brightened in increments and ached to Harry's eyes until the images rose, first of wizards with colours-lined hands spelling stones into the foundation, then of a wedding in a room that looked to be a grand bar-room. One by one, almost too swift to see, the memories of the house poured into Harry's mind. Children born and raised, murders plotted, cold silences and noisy love-making, anger and joy and pride through centuries bleeding into him to force him into understanding. He swayed when Sirius appeared, first a boy seeking the approval of his parents, then a young man rebelling against his own pain that he wasn't good enough, and finally an adult with ghostly shadows in the depth of his eyes, chased away only when he looked at Harry, who he loved, with a proprietary satisfaction as though Harry was his own. Harry reached out a hand as if he could hold on to the image, the two of them smiling at each other in the midst of an order meeting. When he was all of 15 years old, but it faded like the rest of them, uncompromisingly fast. The magic swirled around him, growing hotter, and the hand Harry had lifted found its way to the wall. He propped himself up against it, palm flat, and tried to keep his knees from buckling at the lightning force of power washing through him. Felt a surge of possessiveness well up inside him, overwhelming, burning, and he choked against it, his tongue gone thick and his throat tight. It was the house, he realized in the faint recesses of his mind, that could still process something other than the onslaught of thought and sensation whipping around him. Grimmauld Place was giving itself over, but it was taking something too, forcibly wrenching Harry's magic from him to stamp itself with, from the skeleton of the building to the glass in the frames. He heard a heavy whooshing sound roar through his ears, through his mind, and Harry saw another flashing image as the heat spiked again. Draco, lined eyes laughing into his and the future, settled comfortably at his side. And he understood. For the first time that Grimmauld Place responded to Draco so easily, had always done so, as an extension of Harry's needs, as something else that could bind Harry to it. The house had seen long before Harry could that Draco represented the promise of family and future. The promise of home, as he'd always wanted it. Harry gasped and felt the magic slip into his lungs, imprinting his soft tissue and bones, coaxing his very molecules into response with the impact of its need to own and to be owned. Then the knife's edge of pain blurred into pleasure, a sense of being held. Room cooled as suddenly as it had become overhead, and the tracks of moisture on Harry's cheeks chilled him. He sucked a noisy, broken breath, the distant sound of his name being called with increasing panic forcing his head up and around. Draco stood, grasping the dorm frame, face stark. "Harry! Harry!" I'm okay," Harry said hoarsely, then again to reassure himself he was. "I'm okay. Come in." "It won't let me," Draco said with such offence that Harry let loose a dizzy laugh. "It will now. Come on." Harry turned, still steadying himself against the wall, until he was facing Draco. Draco took one hesitant step in, then another, more confident step, filling up the rest of the space in the tiny room. He shivered. "It feels like you in here." Harry laughed again, half drunk with the new awareness his body and mind were flushed with. "What does that mean?" Draco caught his lower lips between his teeth for a second, looking around at the barren white walls, dark wood floor. "I can't see where the light is coming from," he murmured curiously, "but it's warm and fascinating. And you're questioning it." Harry wobbled a little. He raised his mouth an inch to kiss Draco, whose lips moved against his automatically before he pulled away. "No." Draco tched under his breath, cheeks a dark splash of pink. "I'm explaining how it feels like you in here." He straightened, one hand coming up to fan out over Harry's jaw as he inspected him closely, his voice turning clipped. "What happened?" "You didn't see?" "No, it stayed dark until you told me you were okay." "Oh." Harry leaned, his jaw into Draco's hand, eyelids heavy. He opened his mouth, but the words, when he searched for them, weren't there. He couldn't figure out a way to describe that his life's blood and magic were inexorably tied to a place now that would crumble at his feet before allowing harm to come to him, to either of them, as Grimmauld Place had shown him in those last images that it understood perfectly Draco's place in Harry's life and home and heart. "You'll see someday." Draco's mouth thinned for a second, and Harry thought he would press, but he simply nodded, sifting his fingers through Harry's hair. "I expect I will. You look as though you're about to fall over." The weakness in Harry's legs tripled at Draco's words. He nodded weakly, his adrenaline crashing all at once. "Take me to bed." Draco snorted. "You're certainly not in the shape for any of that again," he said, and Harry laughed. Draco's mouth drew down. "Let me summon some new sheets and I'll get you." "No need," Harry said. He leaned heavily onto Draco, staggering out of the room. The door clucked shut behind him, and he glanced back. The key was still bright in the lock, a thin strip of pulsing, living light shining from beneath the door jamb. He'd have to tell Frank he was wrong about the house not having a soul, about it not being able to speak. He had just spoken to Harry after all. They made their way to Harry's room, and Draco's eyebrows rose to see that Harry was right. His bedlines were clean and made up, the lamps muted comfortably. Clumsily, Harry tucked the bedcovers down and climbed in. Draco pursed his lips but followed, settling on his side, his chest pressed up against Harry's back, and one hand flat over his breastbone. They were silent for a time, and then Harry said, "It's like us, you know." Draco stood behind him, the hand he had pressed to his chest curling slightly. "What's that?" "The house," Harry explained, sleepy and sated. "The way it taunted me, hated me, and blamed me." "Thank you," Draco said dryly. "And I did the same, but we wanted something from each other. We were important to each other, right? And we didn't know how." "Your point, Potter," Draco said, quite affectionate in his ear. "Remember when I said that when something belongs to you, you belong to it?" Harry asked. Read a slow, cautious nod against his shoulder. Harry sighed. "Like that," he said, then as an afterthought, he added, "You insufferable winker. Next time, tell me if you're going to leave, okay?" "Okay," Draco said, his voice strangely tight. His hand slipped down over Harry's stomach, fingertips resting on Harry's opposite hip. "Everyone was looking for me, you said?"
Everyone. Greg even gave him a pendant. Something you made in 6th year. I remember.
Draco didn't bother to hide amusement in his tone.
You thought me dead? No one knew. Even Ron was concerned.
Harry yawned again, smiling a little at Draco's snort.
It's okay, though. The human and the air are mates, I guess. What exactly did that room do to you?
Draco bent over Harry's shoulder, and Harry turned to look at him. Draco's face was conflicted, bewilderment combined with the willingness to be let in on the joke. Harry opened his mouth to explain about Frank, and then closed it. What Draco didn't know wouldn't kill him, he reasoned.
You'll see someday,
he said.
Now let's go to sleep.
Draco settled again, the mattress shifting, his lithe palm pressed against Harry.
I'm glad you're home. I am too.
Draco returned, sounding surprised.
Though I never would have expected this to be it.
Harry smiled to himself. Home could be a confusing concept. That much he knew for sure. To be continued. So, this was the end of the 2nd chapter, which is actually the last chapter in this wonderful, wonderful story. What we still have left is the epilogue, which will come next week, and then we will be all done and set and ready for our little October shenanigans that consists of fall-themed and spooky-themed fanfictions from different pairings, and I'm really excited to share it with you, and I really hope you stick around. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you enjoy what you're hearing, so you'll always stay up to date, and you can also find me on Spotify or on AO3. Your support means the world to me. Let me know what you thought of the story, if there's a story you'd like to hear next, and I will see you again really soon.